We're back at 8:10, and now to our NBC News special series, A Woman's Nation, a week-long groundbreaking look at the challenges and changing roles of women in today's society. Our friend Maria Shriver, the First Lady of California, is serving as guest editor. She spent more than a year exploring the topic with the help of the Center for American Progress. We're going to talk to Maria in just a moment, but first, she shares one family's story.
Before dawn in Michigan's state capital, one woman's day has just begun. For Governor Jennifer Granholm,
good morning. How are you?
The politics of persuasion start early. Negotiating a budget
Should I call them today?
In a state that has to make drastic cuts.
Today the unemployment numbers come out.
In meetings and face-to-face at the Capitol. It's her last term, and for Michigan's first female governor, the needs of her state have never been greater. A failed auto industry and the highest unemployment in the country.
Governor, that could change.
But by noon, next year's budget is not the only thing being negotiated.
Hi, babe.
A quick bag lunch with the first gentleman.
A lot going on.
They're in session at the moment.
Dan Mulhern is a former leadership executive, part-time radio host, and full-time dad. The couple joined our discussion on the shifting landscape for women. Did you sit down and negotiate that shift between you?
I think it happened, and I think you were an accomplice to it.
We have negotiated some things, though. I think,
yes,
you know, for instance, there was a time when I said to Jennifer, "You've got to stay out of my lane," which meant with the kids, and she was fantastic about saying that and respecting that.
Okay.
And it's a fast lane, raising now two college-age daughters, Cece, Kate, and their son Jack, just starting middle school.
This is a good deal, to have a relationship with our children that our fathers didn't have, let alone our grandfathers.
But there was also an identity shift.
It's the internal sense that something's wrong, it shouldn't be like this.
Right.
When asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? First Lady wasn't on the top of the list.
They started as equals, even taking each other's last name when they married. But for this Harvard Law School grad, taking a back seat to his wife's political ambitions wasn't exactly what he had in mind.
When a man steps back, as I have, you feel like you missed something because you see her going full bore at making a difference and changing the world, and you know you're changing a diaper sometimes, quite literally.
Have you had to shift?
Absolutely. Absolutely, because as a mom, I would want to get in and take over the kid thing.
Do you feel less of a mother?
Yeah, I have felt less engaged, but I do feel so grateful because Dan, he's actually better at parenting than I am.
Go.
And for this man trained to teach leadership, he learned a thing or two about leading at home.
I thought it was best ever.
Thank you.
I have three fantastic kids, and it's tapped a lot of what's best in me, and it's good for Jennifer as well.
So at the end of a long day, dinner time is less about who has what role,
I am coming.
and more about family.
Maria joins us. Hey, Maria.
Hi, Matt.
I want to talk about the Granholms in a second, but you spent a lot of time traveling the country talking to women and men.
Right.
Is there a headline in your mind that jumps out after all this?
Well, I think that men really want to be involved in the caring of their children and caring for elder parents in a way that they didn't know to be involved 30 or 40 years ago, and that they actually have a lot of the same goals and desires as women. So these issues of child care, elder care, equal pay are now American economic issues, not just women's issues.
Let me read you something you write in your portion of the book. You say, I learned women are hungry for something that's missing in their lives, a place to connect. They say they feel increasingly isolated, invisible, stressed, and misunderstood. And what jumps out at me based on that comment is why? Because they are more and more outside the home. They're connecting with people in the workplace. They're being valued for their contribution. Why do they feel so isolated and disconnected?
Well, a lot of women feel that they aren't being valued for their contributions.
Not financially, but I'm talking about actually as something other than what they used to be seen as.
Well, I think women are stretched at all ends. I mean, women have certainly gone outside the home. They're working in record numbers, as this the Shriver report indicates, but they're not getting paid equally. They still feel that they're primarily responsible 80% for the child care and elder care. That's a big squeeze going on with women. So men, 70% of the job losses in this recession have been in male-dominated jobs.
Right.
So women are becoming the primary breadwinners, mothers, in 2/3 of American families. Primary or co-breadwinners. That's a lot of stress.
And what I like about the example of the Granholms, while there aren't a lot of families out there where the wife is the governor of a state, it shows that there is really no such thing as a typical family makeup anymore,
well,
or structure.
That's exactly what we learned, Matt, in this report, because we wanted to take a look at who the American woman is today, who the American family is today, and get rid of some of the old stereotypes. And the fact is, less than 30% of families have a stay-at-home parent today. That changes everything in America. That changes how government has to deal with the family. That changes how business has to deal with families. It changes schools. Schools go from 8 to 3, 9 to 3. There's nobody there at home when a kid gets home. Everything has to adapt in order to adapt to the changing American family.
As we look at changing roles for women in this country, I am drawn to a question I have to ask, and that is about your mom, who passed away recently, and my condolences on that. But talk about someone who helped to change the role of women in this. She was a trailblazer.
Well, she was, as far as I was concerned, she raised 5 kids. I was an only daughter, and she changed the world for people with intellectual disabilities. And she was always very different growing up. You know, she wore men's pants, she smoked cigars, and she worked outside the home. And she really never cared what people thought about her. And she used her own experience of growing up with a sister with an intellectual disability to, she always said, use adversity for a purpose. And she used it to change the world. And so actually, when I got this report, that when I actually picked up the first physical copy of it, my first reaction was, oh, I have to show this to Mommy. And, you know, and so I think obviously when you lose somebody, you know, you still have those like, oh, that's right.
Those connections will never go away. But she clearly was ahead of her time.
She was, and she'd be so happy about this report because she truly believed that mothers had the ability to change the world.
Maria, we're thrilled to have you here all week with us. We'll see you tomorrow, okay? Right now, by the way, tomorrow on A Woman's Nation, we're going to look at the changing dynamics between women and men at home, more of what we've been talking about.